Hi everyone, my name is Natalie Ledwell and this is The Inspiration Show. Today on the show I have a very special guest. She is one of these amazing people who has come from a very challenging time in her life and made something amazing out of it and is really helping to transform the world one person at a time. And actually, make something positive out of adversity, which is, what this Inspiration Show is all about, in sharing inspiring stories. So please help me welcome my special guest, Jude Weber. How are you, Jude?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Fantastic. All the better for talking to you today, that's for sure. Now, I can see we've got some incredible cards and artwork behind you, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. But first of all, why don't we talk about a little bit about your story and your background and how you got into this amazing project called Buddhaful.
Sure, thank you. Well, I've always had a love affair with creativity and the word. I've always written. I started writing poetry and creating handmaking cards when I was, I think, 9 years old.
Yeah.
And then as life happens, I never thought creativity was a means of producing something, for money. So I just let it go by the wayside. But I've always had a very creative calling inside. And about 5 years ago, I was not able to be diagnosed, and I had a very, very life-threatening mystery illness that I was in bed for years, and it was a really challenging time, both physically and emotionally. And I knew that something had to call me out of where I was, and it wasn't going to be my mind. It wasn't going to be my mind thinking about, getting well. And I literally believe that this is not the first time this had happened to me, where Spirit chose me to revive myself. And this whole creative project came to me at 2:30 in the morning. It was literally like message coming in, and I remember grabbing, I could barely even walk, but I got to get a notebook and a pen, and I started writing all of these ideas that happened. And before I knew it, I think within 2 weeks I had produced like half of the line of cards, and it really was an anchor for me to pull myself out of the depths of where I was. But the bigger calling was, I knew that this whole experience was not just for me. I knew that my life had to be about creating value for other people. And at that point, once I was able to get myself to the point of at least, using these cards and gifting them to people at the beginning and just seeing their feedback and how it uplifted them and the vibration that, transformed within them, I just made an absolute dedication that I am going to use my entire life to help other people, and I'm unattached to how that is. And so now the line has expanded, and I'm sure we'll get more into that, but I've also launched a coaching practice about really helping people on many levels. But for me, it's been about the blessings of illness and the blessings of my life that have opened up as a result of my journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I did a inspiration show recently with a woman talking about the stories that we tell ourselves and how if we choose the most empowering version of our story, because there's probably about 50 different ways we can tell the same story, but when we can look at, and choose the most empowering version of that story, then it actually helps to change our outlook, our mindset, and then how we move forward. So how do you, I know that you just said that, that your illness was a blessing. What are the gifts that you think that you got out of that challenge that maybe you wouldn't have got if you, led a healthy life, normal life?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And I know, because most people would think, what, blessing? And if you had known where I was, most people would not think that I was considering this a blessing. But it stripped away every single thing that stood in the way of me living in freedom and a fully engaged life. And I mean, I had no choice. I was bedbound, I was in silence, I was in darkness, and I'm just a completely different person. and nothing that was important to me at that time, or I shouldn't say nothing, but few things that were important to me prior are even considerations in my life right now, and just for context, just I really, really lead my life with my heart right now. It's not about the outside. And I know it can sound very cliched, but I truly, I live in relationship to the planet, to, nature, to things that speak that I might not have even heard before. It might have been right in my, in my vision, but I didn't have the awareness or the capacity to really, acknowledge what was going on, like right in my immediate environment.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can imagine when you're going through that, like it's very hard to shift your focus from the pain that you're in and the physical pain that you're in. So, I know that you just mentioned before about having that connection to spirit. How do you cultivate that relationship? How do you nurture that relationship with spirit?
I mean, it's been a definite a stepping in process, like a leaning in process, because when when you're constantly thinking that you're about to improve and then something doesn't happen to support that, it's a real building a foundation. And for me, it's been a daily practice of building disciplines that I've done to be able to recreate a stronger foundation for myself so that I can now call upon that to navigate the world.
Yeah.
Whether it's things are great or whether things are, not so great.
Yeah, absolutely. So cool. All right, so let's talk about the Buddhaful, the project. So tell us, I know that you said you got the download, you got the inspiration. So tell us, what all about the project. Yeah, all about the project.
So it's basically, the mission is about nurturing the human spirit and creating vibration, or raising the vibration with inspiration. And it's, these cards, and can I show, like, just, like, here's, for example, a card, I am joyful. And then there's, candles that I just added to the line, I am beautiful. And it's, it's in a multitude, there's 36 different designs that you can get. And it's really just about, not just reading these words and just looking at them, but it's really about embodying what these aspects of ourselves are, and which a lot of people don't necessarily, they're not able to embody them, like immediately. And so it's also a process of, stepping into qualities that you want for yourself and using them as inquiry. Like if you don't necessarily feel joyful, then just to sit and contemplate, well, in what ways might I be able to add more joy to my life? So they can be used on many different levels.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I have my candle here, the I Am Magnificence. And you're right. I mean, of a night, I'm going to light this, because in the evenings when I'm journaling, I want to be able to light this and because I have a little ceremony about how I sit down with the pen and the candles and everything. Because, as women, you probably, I'm sure, have experienced this yourself. Like even with myself, I'll go, you know what, I should have done more today. I could have got something else done. I was too tired, blah, blah, blah. And we beat ourselves up mentally all the time. Probably speak to ourselves worse than we would any other human being on the planet. But by lighting this candle and reminding myself, well, how did I show up in magnificence today? And having that mindful thought before I journal is really what's going to help me to do that. And you're right, it's all about the practices. What is our daily practice? How do we get into this routine? So, yeah.
I'm so grateful that you're going to use it for that, because it really is meant to infuse that energy, to really, embrace these qualities about oneself and feel them.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you have any, so how do you sell these at the moment? How can people get hold of them?
At the moment, I have a website, www.buddhaful.me. And I'm also in the process of opening up an Etsy store, because the candles are not on the website. So the candles are really my launch for the Etsy store, but you can find the cards there as well. And the store is actually Buddhaful Me. It's not just plain Buddhaful. So Those are the two places that that you can find them.
Right. And so what's your vision? What's your hope for these cards and the candles and wherever else this amazing project's going to go?
Thank you. I mean, my hope is that people around the world will be able to experience this, because as you mentioned, you know, women for sure, and you know, other people really are challenged by acknowledging themselves, you know, and just owning, you know, owning wonderful things about who they are and the gifts that they are born with and what they can emerge into and bring to the world. And so my goal is that it will be able to be a worldwide project. And one of my biggest, I have to get more into it, but I would love to be able to have these somewhere in like army bases, you know, or the army stores, so families and people can be able to send this to their loved ones, because that for me is just a really soft spot about, you know, family and connection and community, and just keeping that going when you're in very dire situations across the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I know that you know, we've talked a little bit about, you know, the challenge that you've gone through. So describe what life is like for you now.
Life is very inspiring, and when I referred to the blessings, it's hard for me to imagine where I was, although I never lose sight of it, because I always want to hold a very strong sense of humility about where I was and, you know, who I am in the world today. And I just feel very, very inspired and motivated, and, you know, now of course extending it into my coaching practice, where I can really help people one-on-one overcome their obstacles so that they can live the blessings of their own lives.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I've had this discussion a few times about how, you know, as transformational leaders or coaches at the, you know, these days, you know, really people are connecting with people that have actually gone through the challenge, that have gone through the trenches themselves, not someone who's standing on stage and talking theory. It's like, no. I know you. I am you, and I may be a couple of steps ahead of the game, but I'm still sort of there with you. So, can you share any stories of some of the people that you've worked with, you know, coaching wise, that have really you've helped them to transform into a new chapter in their life?
Yeah, I mean, there's one particular person that I'm working with now, and ironically enough, it also has to do with the cards. And a long time ago, she had bought some of these cards from me, and she was stuck on this one card, like, I am precious. And she was like, consider precious in life, you know, and she talked about nature, and it ended up that she's now using this quality as a 30-day process to go out in the world, and every time she sees something in nature that's precious, she uses it to reflect that back to herself and come up with something about herself that she feels precious about, and then journal about it. So, you know, it's all a process, you know, but we can use everything, you know, in our environment to really transform, you know, things. It doesn't always have to be something in the head, you know, that we're thinking about, but it can be a lot of other elements that we can bring in.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, yes, there are, you know, we are these spiritual beings having this human experience, and yes, there are human things that we need to do and logistical, you know, things that we need to do, but unless you can infuse that with God or with spirituality or with, you know, having that connection to flow so that what you're doing has more meaning, then that's when you find that life is just magical and joyful.
I fully agree. I mean, and it really is. And again, it goes back to just allowing the experience to be what it is, rather than trying to get rid of it or trying to, you know, like it's like allowing energy as opposed to againstness, and just listen to it. You know, ask it what it's trying to tell you. You know, what is it allowing you to bring forward for yourself and for the world? Yeah. So I fully agree with that.
Yeah, totally. Jude, it's been amazing talking to you today. You are such an inspiration. I want to thank you so much for sharing your story. Because for the the inspiration show really is all about not just the gurus, but people that have really come from a difficult place and then use that, or being able to see the gift in that to be able to make a difference in the world, which I know is exactly what you're doing. So I want to really thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me, Natalie.
Beautiful. Now, guys, remember, if you click on the banner here on the website, or underneath if you're on the app, you can go straight through to Jude's website, and I encourage you to do that. I actually have some cards here as well, and even with the cards, I know exactly the friends that I'll be sending these to. So there's such an amazing array there. And also make sure that you share this video. Please get the word out. You can do that by clicking the Facebook and the Twitter share buttons on the page. And also leave your email if you haven't done so already, so I can send you the Manifesting with the Masters video e-course. So guys, until next time, remember to live large, choose courageously, and love without limits. We'll see you soon.